Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is another installment of Talking Cinema, the video series where I share my thoughts on movie trailers, movie news, and various cinema-related topics. Now, I'm not even going to stall that much here. I'm just gonna dive right into it. So when it comes to some trailers, I'm gonna go backwards here. The last time I talked about trailers was during the Super Bowl, so that was a couple months ago, or at least a month ago. Now, the first one I want to talk about is one of the most WTF trailers I've seen in a long time. It's a film called Sasquatch Sunset, and it's a movie that has pretty much next to no dialogue. I don't think it has any dialogue, actually. There's no dialogue, and it's just about a group of Sasquatches trying to survive in the wilderness, and they're played by a bunch of different actors who you might recognize, like Michael Cera is one of them in Sasquatch suits, and there's a lot of grunting and apparently also a lot of fucking. So it's this weird A24 Sasquatch movie in the vein of, I wouldn't say Harry and the Hendersons, but it did like, what if Harry and the Hendersons was NC-17? But no, I mean, it's really one of those things where it's more like an art house version of Quest for Fire, which in itself is kind of an artsy film anyway, but this is a further evolution of that. I will give the trailer this. At least they're trying to do something different, but it's the kind of different that I'm not really that into, to say the least. Kind of feel the same way about Luc Besson's next film, Dogman, which that trailer stylistically it looked impressive because Luc Besson still has it as a director, but the story I don't know, and it just seemed like there might be some kind of message behind it, which I'm not really a big fan of, and it's just one of those movies where it just looks like it's gonna be a little too much. It looks like there's going to be some potential exploitative sort of angles and might be heavy on some social commentary, and I'm not really big on those kind of movies. But I'll give it a watch someday down the road just because it's Luc Besson and I'm a fan of his work, but I wasn't as impressed with that trailer. Borderlands, I know that trailer has been getting a lot of crap online. I didn't hate it. I think Kevin Hart is a weird casting choice, but it seems like he's not playing his typical sort of I'm short, I'm gonna fall down, I'm gonna fly off the screen, and it's supposed to be funny. It doesn't seem like he's as obnoxious here. It seems like it's more of what he provided in Central Intelligence, which I actually enjoyed. So if his performance is closer to that, then maybe I can deal with him in the role in Borderlands. But the cast is just strange. I mean, Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jamie Lee Curtis. I haven't played the game in years, but this is not at all the casting that I had in mind when I was playing the game for a film adaptation of Borderlands. Eli Roth as the director is also an intriguing choice. It's one of those movies where it looks good, definitely has a budget behind it. Looks like they recreated the look of the game well, but I don't know about the cast. And also, there's a lot of vibes with the trailer where it just seems like they're trying to do Guardians of the Galaxy, but the video game version. Oh, it's GOTG, but Borderlands edition, and there could be some fun that can be gleaned from that or can be had from that approach. So compared to some other video game movie trailers that I've seen in the past, like it didn't look completely awful, but it did have this kind of generic look and feel to it. So it looks like a film that could be entertaining for like one watch, but not much past that. And a film that has potential to just not work because of the cast. They just don't get the chemistry right. They just don't fit together. Just seems like a bunch of random personalities and performance levels that are just kind of thrown in there randomly, like a like a like a random roll of the dice, so to speak. Boys, I meant to say Boy Kills World. If this movie is a hit, then that would be the sequel, Boys Kill World. But that's definitely not going to happen because this film is probably going to bomb. I don't know why they're trying to push Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård, as this upcoming movie star. I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. I don't think he has it. I don't think he has the charisma. I don't think he has the on-screen presence. His push is reminding me of what happened with Joel Kinnaman for a certain amount of time, where they tried to push him as the next big male movie star, and that failed spectacularly because he's just not a quality enough actor when it comes to a standalone film to carry a movie or a franchise. So I see the same thing with Bill. Uh, Boy Kills World looks like there could be some fun action in it. I like the premise behind it. I think it has some potential, but I don't think the voiceover is going to work. The voiceover shtick got old like halfway through the trailer, so I'm just imagining how irritating it's going to be when it comes to seeing the entire film with this voiceover, with this video game narrator voice guy. And I know that's the point, he's supposed to sound like that, but it just sounds like it's the Honest Trailers guy who's narrating this guy's every move, and that's just obnoxious. So I don't know about that. Um, I will say, when it comes to the two films that Skarsgård is going to be in this year as the lead, I definitely want to see this more than the Crow remake, but that's not saying much. Um, the Watchers, I can't. It's another one of those trailers where I can't really say a whole lot about it. It doesn't really explain that much about what the plot is or what's happening, which, isn't always necessarily something that you have to have in a trailer, because there's something to be said about having some mysterious elements or some things that people can look at without revealing uh, a lot of the spoilers and so on and so forth. But I don't know. It just looked like a film that was well shot, but looked kind of empty when it comes to the characterization. And I'm just not so sure about what is going on with it. It looks like an A24 film, A24 horror film, and those aren't really my cup of tea. Uh, Speaking of other indie films, I saw the trailer for I Saw the TV Glow. That was actually shown before the showing of Love Lies Bleeding that I saw recently in the theater. And that did nothing for me. It looked like just a very artsy, fartsy, weird kind of movie where it's trying to be kooky and surreal, but in a way that's kind of alienating and doesn't really connect with you on a deeper level. Like that's really what I got from it. Like it was more of an aesthetic kind of film than anything else. And I'm okay with those movies where the film is like a vibe, but not if it's going to be like some kind of pretentious sort of story. And that's kind of what it seems like it's going to be. The vibes are totally off with the teaser for Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead remake. Yeah, we're getting a remake of that movie. Now, to be honest, I don't think the original is an absolute classic like other people do. I like Christina Applegate. I like some other members of the cast, but it's one of those films where it was at its best when it was dealing with the babysitter, and it was like a dark comedy for like the first 20 to 30 minutes. Then when it becomes a film that's essentially a rom-com with Christina Applegate working at a fashion, uh I wouldn't say it's not an industry. She's not working at the industry. She's working at like a place that specializes in fashion. And when she's working as a fashion executive, it's not as enjoyable and it's not as entertaining to me. So it's one of those films where I think you could actually do a remake of this and improve upon it, but from the just lazy race swapping angle and the teaser, and just from the little bits of jokes in there, and the direction, and just how cheap it looks, and how a lot of the people involved in the cast don't even seem like they even want to be there. They're just there for their paycheck. It does not look good. It's a very bad first impression for that remake. The Strangers Chapter 1, I saw that trailer before one of the films that I saw recently. It's nice that Rennie Harlan is getting work again in the industry. And from what I saw in the trailer, he still has the ability to direct. Like, he hasn't completely lost his gift like someone like Walter Hill did after all those years that he was not directing. But it just looked like a generic slasher. So, I mean, there's only so much that he can do with it. Late Night with the Devil, I know that just came out with a limited engagement release in theaters. It's probably going to be on Shudder fairly soon. I am intrigued by the concept of the film. In essence, it acts like it's a live broadcast of a television special in the 70s. And that aspect of it is interesting to me. But I do not like the fact that it's just another possession film. There's so many of those goddamn movies nowadays. I don't care if you have the angle of it being a live broadcast, it's still a possession movie. So that really is kind of a bit of a turnoff for me when it comes to that film. That's the reason why I'm going to wait to see that until it comes out on streaming. That's also how I feel about Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney. I want to see if Sydney Sweeney can pull off a role like that, but another Catholic horror film with nuns and some kind of supernatural happening, that's another thing that's very played out at this point. Speaking of that, The First Omen. We don't need an Omen prequel. We don't need any more Omen films, period. We've had enough Omen films. We even had a Omen TV series. Does anyone remember that one on A&E? I think it was called Damien. Uh, yeah, there's 4 films and a remake and a TV series, and nobody remembers. A failed TV pilot that was never picked up in the 90s with William Sadler. And now we have a prequel. And I'm like, an Omen prequel doesn't make any sense anyway. So it's an Omen prequel? Really? So there was another Antichrist before the one in the Omen? It kind of makes the whole suspense and the angle in the original Omen kind of pointless. If there was already an Antichrist before, are the Antichrists now like the Highlander, where there's all this talk about how there's only one, the prophecy only supports one, and there's only one Antichrist who's going to rule the world, but there's actually multiple Antichrists? Just like when the Highlander was like, there could be only one immortal. But then there were all these sequels, and then it's like, oh, I guess there's more than one now. I was kidding about there being only one. There's a few that I forgot about. Sorry. It just looks like a very forgettable, boring, dull horror film to begin with. And the Omen franchise aspect adds nothing to it. I'm more interested in the Netflix film that's coming out called Atlas with Jennifer Lopez. I'm more curious about that. Looks like it could be a engaging and potentially really entertaining sci-fi thriller, some good effects, good central performance by Jennifer Lopez. It's crazy to me. There are Netflix films and movies that are coming out direct to streaming that I'm looking forward to more than a good chunk of these theatrical releases. Probably because so many of them are sequels and remakes. I saw a post on social media where they listed off all the sequels that were coming out this year. There's way too many of them. They said, "Yeah, 2024 is like the year of the sequel." Like, yeah, that's not a good thing. Got another sequel, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. I don't know about that one. It honestly seems like at certain points of the script, they just had a 5-year-old ghostwrite it. They played around with some Godzilla and Kong toys that the studio provided with them with, and just came up with a plot, came up with different angles for the script. Similar to that scene in the Fast and the Furious sequel where the kid literally plays in a car and he has a space station or something like that, and the car goes into the space station. Similar to that. It does seem like this franchise is becoming like Fast and the Furious in terms of its absurdity and ridiculousness. And speaking of ridiculous, the Crow trailer. First, you have the ridiculous new look for the Crow. I know there's a comic that has a Crow that looks similar to this. That's not Eric Draven, though. That's a completely different character. So if you want to do that comic, then adapt that comic and use that character and use that character's arc. Don't take Eric Draven and then take that look and then apply it to Eric Draven. That's not who Eric Draven is. So it just seems like by having Eric be the protagonist in this remake, they aren't even hiding the fact that they're just trying to prey on your nostalgia. They're just trying to take advantage of your nostalgia for the Crow, for the 1994 film. That's really what they're trying to do with this remake. And Bill Skarsgård, I just don't see it. I don't see him as this charismatic leading man. I just do not feel that it's something that is going to click. And if you heard any audio there, I accidentally clicked on the teaser trailer for The Crow, and so that's why there's a bit of audio that came up on my speakers. But anyway, I just don't see him as the guy who's going to be able to carry a film, and I saw nothing like that in the trailer either. Got strong Joel Kinnaman in the RoboCop remake vibes. We're speaking through his teeth, not really showing a lot of confidence in his dialogue. And speaking of the dialogue in this trailer is just terrible. You feel like my person. Who the hell talks like that? Who do you know of a single person in your life that talks like that? I don't. I don't know of a single soul who says things like "you're my person." I've seen people compare it to like Tumblr posts, and that's like a perfect descriptor. It's a perfect way to describe dialogue like this. It's like somebody's Tumblr post is just regurgitated into the screenplay. So you got the Crow who looks like he's some wannabe SoundCloud rapper with all these tattoos and shit. One of which is like a tattoo around his nipple. And I swear to God, it looks like Handsome Squidward from SpongeBob. And the guy with the Handsome Squidward SpongeBob tattoo on his chest, the mullet, he walks around with his shirt off for it seems like probably for half the movie, because we gotta have something that keeps somebody's attention in the audience At least we can maybe keep the attention of the few females that decide to go see this movie because of Bill's physique and his rock hard abs. Um, but for everyone else, there's not much to look at. I will say, directing wise, it doesn't look that bad from a technical standpoint. It looks like it might have some stylish direction, but it also looks like a film that is going to be very paper thin, not really have a lot of action in it. And from what I read from somebody who actually did see, I don't think it was on a screener or whatever, but they saw the film at a festival or something, or a screening of the movie, like one of those pre-screens that happen before the movie's release, and they were speaking very candidly about it and seemed very accurate, talking about how there's not a lot of action in the film. There's like a little bit in the middle, and then the bulk of it is at the end at the opera house. And it just seems like a film that never finds its footing. And that's what it looks like. I mean, it's a film that they basically shot in secret in another country, because they were all like, we don't want anyone to know that we're making this movie. We don't want anyone to find out that we're making another Crow film. We don't need another Crow movie anyway, because let's be honest here, the 1994 film was lightning in a bottle. Anything after that was just a decline in quality, or just more of the same, disappointing, or mediocre and forgettable at best storytelling. That's what happened with these sequels. I know there's people who like City of Angels. I'm not one of them. I don't think the longer director's cut would have made a difference, because Vincent Perez cannot fucking act. It doesn't matter if there were more scenes, because the guy can't fucking act. The guy who plays the Crow is a shitty actor, so it wouldn't matter how many more scenes that the guy has. In fact, it would make it worse, because you get more scenes of this guy's terrible acting. And yeah, no one since Brandon Lee, other than Mark Dacascos in the show Stairway to Heaven, has come even close to being the Crow. And Bill Skarsgård definitely is in it, with his Machine Gun Kelly looking ass. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that trailer. Like, initially I wasn't as upset about it when I first saw it, but the more times that I see the trailer and the more I think about it, I really do not care for that trailer. It just looks like a generic, completely useless, unneeded film that nobody was asking for. Now, a sequel that or a prequel that actually think looks pretty promising is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. The more I see from that film, the more I warm up to it. I like Anya Taylor-Joy anyway as an actress, and it just looks like it could be another fun, crazy, wild, apocalyptic ride in the vein of Fury Road, which I also did enjoy. Um, and I was honestly curious about Furiosa's story. Like, I have been curious about how she came to be who she ultimately turned into at the start of Fury Road. So I think when it comes to like a prequel, that's one that I think could definitely work. Another film that I think looks better and better with each trailer is The Fall Guy. I can't wait to see that movie. That's honestly one of my most anticipated films of this year, is The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling. Now, a film that I'm not as anticipated for, or I'm not anticipating as much. Sorry to use proper grammar or English or whatever you want to call it. Alien Romulus. This just looked like the writers played Alien Isolation for a few hours and like, oh, now I got an idea for the new Alien movie. That's what it looks like. And you know what? That's a better place to start from than the Ridley Scott prequels, Prometheus and Alien Covenant. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be good or it's going to work. I'm already seeing signs that I'm not a fan of. CGI face huggers. The characters seem like they're going to be nothing but like cannon fodder or food for the xenomorphs and not really much in terms of personality or charisma. The lead, the final girl, particularly looks very tiresome to me because yet again, it's another final girl in this franchise. Can we stop? Can we stop already trying to replace Ellen Ripley with a Ripley clone? This is a franchise that already replaced Ripley with a Ripley clone in Alien Resurrection, and now they're trying to do it again repeatedly, but with people who aren't named Ripley. Can we just stop this already? Can we do something different? This is not a franchise that needs more representation for female leads. It's not. It's had that representation from the start. So, if anything, if you want to switch things up and you want to do something that puts some eyes on this film and makes people look at it and go, huh, that's kind of interesting, you have it feature a male lead. It can be a man of a different ethnicity or color or something. It could be someone like John Cho, or it could be an African American actor or mixed race guy. It could also be a white guy. It can be anybody. Like just stop with trying to just do Ripley every single time with these alien films. And no, David the android doesn't fucking count because they still did the female lead stuff in Prometheus with the with Nomi Rapaz's character. And I think there was I forgot who the character was. There even a lead in Covenant? It's been forever since I saw it last, so I can't really say a whole lot about it. But I'm just saying this is a franchise that has been long overdue to have a male lead in it. Who's the final guy? Who's the survivor? Kind of a way of making things come full circle in some ways because the original script had the Ripley character portrayed as a man, but then they decided to change things up and make it a female, make it a woman. So I don't get it. I don't understand why they're so resistant to this. This is not a franchise that needs more representation. So I don't buy that excuse. That's bullshit. I want someone like Hicks as the lead in an alien film. Like, is that really too much to ask to have some extra representation? Like, isn't it kind of sexist too to not have male leads? Like, is it only sexist if you don't have enough female leads? Like, that's what it seems like with some people's logic when it comes to a lot of stuff in the industry. And it doesn't help either that there's certain shots in this film that literally look like they're trying to make her look like Ripley. She's standing there with a gun and the wind is blowing through her hair like in Aliens. You're like, come on, man. Like, can we just do something different at this point? Especially with the Alien franchise. I'm supposed to be excited about a film that looks like it's Alien Isolation 2 with Ripley 3.0. Like, no, I'm not. And Fede Alvarez doesn't really excite me that much either because I didn't love his Evil Dead remake. I will admit that I warmed up to it a little bit more after a recent rewatch. Like, I prefer the Evil Dead remake over Evil Dead Rise, but it's not on par with the first three Evil Dead films by any means. I just don't know about that film. And I know it's just a teaser, and maybe there's more. Maybe they're leading us on. Maybe it's like, oh, it's a female lead, but then they're gonna pull a switch, and they're gonna pull the rug out from underneath you, and she's gonna get killed off halfway through the film, and then it's gonna be a male lead. That would be a surprise. That would be something that would definitely work if you ask me. That would be unexpected, especially nowadays. but I highly doubt they're gonna do that. And the last trailer I want to talk about is Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. I I I know a lot of people like that title. I think it's stupid. What's the third film going to be called? Beetlejuice Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Like I just don't understand. Why can't it just be called Beetlejuice 2? Uh but that's the least of this film's problems. I haven't seen Wednesday yet, but it looks like it's promising, but it's also a streaming series, so Tim Burton has a little bit more time to work out some kinks. And it's a streaming series. Tim Burton hasn't made a legitimately good film, in my opinion, since Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. That's a long time. So you've got a guy who hasn't directed a movie, honestly, worth anything or on the same level as Beetlejuice, or even some of his other classics like Edward Scissorhands, in years. And it doesn't help either that it just seems like another one of those nostalgic, lazy sequels. Because the trailer has Deo again, like, hey, remember Deo? Remember the bridge? Remember the old house? I'm like, why do we have to do this where it's a sequel that's so many years later, and so the original cast members, they go back and revisit the old town and dust off the memories, and let's throw in some more member berries for the audience. Like, I'm sick and tired of this. I really am. And I don't just like Beetlejuice. I love Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is one of my favorite films. But I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to see the bridge again. I can't wait to hear Deo again. I can't wait to hear all these other lines of dialogue that I've heard a million times. I expected when Michael Keaton popped up to say it's showtime. That's how predictable and how generic things have gotten with these legacy sequels. With a few exceptions, like Blade Runner 2049, Top Gun Maverick, but for the most part, they're pretty much lazy nostalgia cash grabs. And I'll give it credit. Keaton, when he popped up as Beetlejuice in the teaser, he didn't say it's showtime again. He said the juice is loose. But I don't know. Like, I like that Winona is back and Catherine O'Hara. It seems like Charles, Jeffrey Jones's character, he's dead, and that's the funeral that they're going to probably at the start of the movie. I don't like Jenna Ortega though. I'm tired of her being the it goth girl. I get it. Wednesday was popular. It went viral. But I just don't get why she's considered to be this next big thing. I didn't get it in X. I don't get it in the Scream sequels. I don't get it here. She seems particularly out of place here. Like, the scenes that you see in the trailer, it just seems like she's completely disinterested and doesn't give a fuck and doesn't even really want to be in this movie, but did it because Tim Burton wanted her to, and she was in Wednesday and had a good time with Tim shooting that series. But this just seems like one of those things where, hey, you were in Wednesday and people liked you in Wednesday. Can you also do Beetlejuice 2? And she's like, okay, sure, I guess. It's getting to the point where she's already typecast. Ironically, like Winona Ryder was after Beetlejuice. If she's not careful, she's going to wind up like Winona Ryder and get typecast as the quirky goth girl, if she hasn't already. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to see that Keaton is back as Beetlejuice, and it is a role that he has a lot of love for, and that does show. But he was back as Batman in The Flash, and that sucked. So him being back as Beetlejuice isn't an automatic win for me, considering the last time that Keaton reprised a classic role of his in recent history. Now, when it comes to movie news, I'm just gonna blast through some stuff. I guess Netflix is gonna be making a sequel to Happy Gilmore. not necessary. Do not want to see that, especially with Adam Sandler's track record with comedies. I think it could be on the level of something like Joe Dirt 2. Like it really could be. And honestly, why would you even need a sequel to Happy Gilmore anyway? Like why? What are you going to do with a sequel to Happy Gilmore? He's going to play another golf tournament with Shooter McGavin at some point? Is Shooter actually going to eat literal shit for breakfast in one scene? um, checking out some stuff here. Oh yeah, the Poohniverse. There's the fucking hacks who made Pooh, Blood and Honey are doing a cinematic universe now called the Poohniverse Monsters Assemble. Who the fuck gives a shit and who is asking for that? I don't even think the people who even kind of liked those movies wants a Poohniverse. Um, yeah, let's see here. There was a Quibi show horror series called The Stranger. It's actually going to get re-edited into a feature film. I guess that's kind of interesting. That long delayed uh readaptation or new adaptation of Salem's Lot is going to be coming to HBO Max later this year. Nev Campbell's returning for Scream 7, and it looks like Kevin Williamson, I think, is going to direct it. Uh, it's nice that Kevin's back involved with the series. I think he did a really good job with the film Sick. So that's kind of a positive, but this is a franchise that to me that's run its course already. And even with Nev back, even with Kevin Williamson back, I don't really feel that both of them are really going to be able to inject that much extra new energy and life to the series to make Seven worthwhile. I hope I'm wrong though. And honestly, with Kevin back and Nev back, I hope this is like it. I hope this is like just the final film in the series, and this is just the finale. But that's just me personally. Kingpin 2, they're working on a sequel. The script is difficult, probably because it's Kingpin 2. It's another sequel that's just not necessary, not needed. I like Kingpin, but it was never a film where I was like, man, you know what I really want to see a sequel to? Kingpin. We don't get Dread 2, but we get Kingpin 2. We get another Crow. We get the Crow remake that had been in development hell for years for a legitimate reason. And we don't get Dread 2. Oh, this is pretty big. The Rust Armorer, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, she was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. So, like I said, it wasn't just a case of, I don't know if I actually covered this because maybe I just didn't want to ruffle any feathers, but I've had the opinion that Baldwin was getting way too much blame when it comes to him being the one that was picked by people for being responsible for everything, for the tragedy, for the death that happened on the set of Rust. I don't think that he was innocent. I think he definitely shares some responsibility, but I do feel that because Alec was a celebrity and because he had certain political leanings, it led to some people making him the sole target and not necessarily looking at this as a case of a total failure involving the entire system, involving the entire production, and multiple different layers of it. It's like how I don't blame the actor who played Fun Boy in The Crow for killing Brandon Lee. I don't even blame the director, Alex Proyas, for killing Brandon Lee. What I blame is the system. It was a broken system then in 1994, and it was still sadly a broken system when they did Rust. So it's nice to see that at least someone else involved with this production, other than Alec Baldwin, is getting uh, consequences. They are being found guilty. I think it should go farther than that. I think the people that spread this armor so thin and had such haphazard conditions on the set, they should also be held accountable. I think this woman whose last name was like Pickle or something like that, she should be uh, on trial too. But that's just me. I'm just glad to see that there's somebody else other than Alec Baldwin who is taking legitimate blame and getting I'm not going to say just desserts because that's not really the right way to put it, but they are getting consequences because it's something that I feel a lot of people just kind of oversimplified the whole situation and made it just as if it was just Alec Baldwin being stupid. And I think it goes way deeper than that. Um oh. Steve Martin is getting some documentaries about him. That's cool. That's pretty awesome. I like Steve Martin. Those might be pretty good. Those could be some good documentaries. Definitely would like to check those out. Uh, just looking some more through here. There's going to be a Naked Gun remake with Liam Neeson. I don't think we need a Naked Gun remake, but it could work because I think Liam Neeson has a very underrated deadpan. And to be fair, Liam Neeson, he's known for being a more dramatic actor, but so is Leslie Nielsen prior to him doing The Naked Gun and stuff like that. Lionsgate wants to remake American Psycho. Please don't. Don't do that. Gladiator 2 has like a budget of like what? I think it's like 200 or 300 million dollars or some insanely high budget. Who the fuck is asking for Gladiator 2? I'm not. Plus the guy, isn't he dead? Isn't Maximus dead? What is this going to be, his ghost? Oh, it's probably going to be his son or some shit. It doesn't matter. We don't need Gladiator 2. And Luc Besson is doing a Dracula film. That's kind of interesting. All right. Okay. And I guess Ridley Scott, he's considering his next film to be a biopic about the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees. Maybe it'll be better than his Alien prequels. Not much to say about that. I know Marvel's Fantastic Four. There was a poster that came out a while back, and it had a 60s aesthetic. They mentioned the cast. I don't think it's that bad of a cast. Could be all right. Um, I hope it does wind up being a throwback because I think that's something that's very much a part of the identity and the aesthetic and the overall feel of Fantastic Four. Um, Now there's a Masters Universe film that could be in the works from the director of Bumblebee. If they do that, they should cast Zac Efron as He-Man. Like, look at him in the Iron Claw. Like, he already is He-Man in that movie. But yeah, there are some upcoming Blu-rays and stuff like that, but I'll save those for when I do the next installment of Physical Media Madness. But I will, you know, give a little bit of a teaser to some of the stuff that I want to talk about Kino Lorber just announced a couple releases that I'm really excited about. A special edition of The Perfect Weapon with Jeff Speakman, which has a new 4K remaster, audio commentary with the director and a historian, and even an interview with Jeff Speakman, as well as some deleted scenes. And Death Machine, an underrated sci-fi action horror film from Stephen Norrington. That's getting a special edition Blu-ray from Kino Lorber in May, along with The Perfect Weapon. They both come out in May, and that has like 3 different cuts of the film, multiple different features. So I'm really looking forward to those. Um, Not so much the Terminator 4K remaster, which will probably be butchered and botched beyond belief by James Cameron, but it is what it is. And on that topic, I am not done with Jimmy Cammy. I'm not done with James Cameron because I have a rant video that I think you will definitely be interested in that I will be working on and getting put together that involves the art versus the artist, and not the kind of conversation that you think it is, like separating the art versus artist. No, it's actually the battle of the art versus the artist. And James Cameron is a perfect example of that. So I'm going to get a lot of stuff off my chest about James Cameron in that video, as well as George Lucas and other filmmakers who have done similar things. And I also have a bunch of the paid requests that I'm still working on that will also be in the works, and some newer stuff. I will see. I was going to say Afterlife, but that came out already. Uh, I will see Frozen Empire sometime next week, and I will do a review of that around the same time. But anyway, until the next video, thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.